everyone, today I'm going to be talking about how to get involved in research as an undergraduate student. Before talking about how to get an undergraduate research position, I want to briefly list everything you can gain from doing so. I think it's important to cover this information so that once you get a position, you get the most from it. Becoming involved in research as an undergraduate student can, 1, help you determine whether you want to pursue graduate school or a career in research. 2, help you get into graduate school and or get a job in research. 3, provide valuable skills. 4, add an impressive line to your CV or resume, which is always nice. 5, result in a solid professional reference. 6, be used to obtain course or internship credit at many universities. 7, provide a research community and ideally valuable mentorship. And 8, it might change your life. What I mean is that you may learn something you did not expect to, and that is the point of research. One thing that is guaranteed in a lab is that we as researchers are trying to solve problems and figure out things that were not previously known. Getting involved in research will enhance your learning in ways that are not possible in a classroom where information is often presented in books as facts. Now I'm going to jump into the steps I recommend undergraduate students take when looking to get involved in research. These steps include tailoring your search to positions that align with your research interests and goals, reaching out to labs that are potential good fits, and then, once a mutual positive connection has been made, fulfilling requests for additional information, such as completing an application form and or an interview. So let's start by talking about the first step, which is a really important one. You want to tailor your search to positions that align with your research interests and goals. If you're interested in gaining research experience because you hope to go to graduate school in experimental psychology, then think about what research topics are of most interest to you and try to find a lab whose research encompasses one of those topics. For example, if you are interested in the memory impairments associated with Alzheimer's disease, then a lab that examines cognitive decline with age may be a really good fit for you. If you don't have specific research interests, which is really common for students at your stage, try finding a lab whose research falls within a general category of psychological research that appeals to you, such as developmental, cognitive, social, or biological psychology. Finding a good fit initially will allow you to further explore and develop your research interests. It will also provide you with the training and skills that are most relevant for the type of work you hope to do, whether that be working with specific populations, methodologies, or something else. Another advantage is that it will better connect you with the research community you hope to join. The people in your new lab will become your research mentors and colleagues and friends. Your mentors will likely be experts in their field, and their knowledge of the field will be invaluable if you're interested in pursuing graduate school within it. Furthermore, their recommendation of you, should you ask for a letter of recommendation for graduate school, will be powerful because they are most likely recognized and respected within their field. They know what their field is looking for, and they can speak to your potential success in those areas. So, how do you find a lab that aligns with your research interests and goals? There are several steps you can take. First, look through the department's faculty pages and read descriptions of their research. This is an excellent way to find labs whose focus overlaps with your own interests. Second, think about whether any of your psychology or whatever STEM focus you have courses sparked your interest. For example, if you love learning about neurobiology and are interested in diving deeper into this area of study, then I recommend checking to see if a professor who teaches neurobiology is doing research in that area. If they are, then their lab may be a really good fit for you. Third, it never hurts to reach out to a mentor, whether it be a professor, TA, or departmental advisor, to ask for advice in general. You can describe your research interest to this person and ask if they have any suggestions for labs that may be a good fit. Remember, there's a very good chance that earlier in their career, they asked someone for the same advice you will be asking of them. Fourth, most universities have web pages where labs post available research positions along with information on how to apply. And fifth, there are research programs to which you can apply. An example of such a program is the McNair Scholars Program, which prepares undergraduate students from underrepresented backgrounds for graduate school through involvement in research. I encourage all students to look into such programs since they usually provide excellent research experience and support and sometimes come with a stipend that helps with expenses. Once you have a lab that you're interested in, regardless of how you found it, it's time to reach out. This can be a bit nerve-wracking if you haven't done it before, but don't worry. it's completely expected. Undergraduate research assistants are a really important part of the research team, and labs love it when students approach them wanting to learn more or inquiring about a position. Labs know that these students, most likely, have taken the time to look into what the lab does, are genuinely interested in learning more, and may end up contributing to their research. When making contact with a lab, I recommend sending a short, sweet, and to-the-point email. A great place to start is expressing 1, your interest in potentially working as a research assistant in their lab. 2, why you're interested in contributing to their research in particular. And 3, how you, as a unique individual, will help their research. Also give them a bit of information about yourself, such as what year in college you are, what your major is, and what type of commitment you would be willing to make if it's a good fit. For example, by stating that you would be able to commit to 5 to 10 hours per week for at least 2 semesters. Attach your CV and offer to provide additional information if helpful. An additional consideration is who to address the email to. If you're responding to an ad, there should be a contact listed. If you're not responding to an ad, then I would email the PI. This is short for primary investigator. They are the professor in charge of the whole lab, or the lab manager if one exists. If you know someone in the lab, such as a graduate student who is also a teaching assistant for one of your prior courses, then they may also be a good contact. As a small aside, the easiest way to form connections with professors and teaching assistants is to go to their office hours, always. That is one of the reasons they exist. Office hours provide an excellent opportunity to learn more about what research they may be doing, as well as their teaching and mentorship style. Once you've reached out to someone in a particular lab, keep track of the time that elapses. If you don't hear anything in 2 weeks' time, I suggest sending a gentle follow-up email to the individual or possibly reaching out to someone else in the lab, for example, the lab manager if you first emailed the PI. At least 2 contact attempts across at least 2 individuals is a reasonable contact attempt. Although you can either contact labs one at a time or contact multiple labs at once, I recommend contacting labs one at a time if you have a clear first, second, and third preference. If you have 2 or 3 labs that you're equally interested in, then I would reach out to them at the same time. Doing so will increase your chances of finding a research position sooner, and it may also allow you to find a better fit. Exploring labs simultaneously makes it easier to compare them, especially on features that aren't discernible from their websites alone, such as the mentoring style of the person you'd be working with most and the general lab atmosphere. Once you've made contact with the lab, they will hopefully let you know if they have any open positions. If open positions are available, they will likely ask for additional information about you. This usually consists of some combination of the following: additional questions for you via email, completing a lab application form, and/or doing an interview. I'm not going to go into detail about this part of the process since it varies quite a bit between labs. However, remember that every interaction you have with the lab from your initial email onward is a data point for them on why you may or may not be a good fit. Give them good data. Be prepared to answer questions about your qualifications and research interests, including why you are interested in their lab in particular. Be professional with all correspondence. If you are invited for an interview, arrive a few minutes early and dress professionally. If you are uncertain about how professional to dress, or if anything else I have said in this video, Google the topic for some additional information and advice. There is no shame in not knowing how to go about getting your first research position. This is the first time you're doing it. In addition, don't forget that this is also your search to find a good research position for you. A large proportion of part-time undergraduate research positions are unpaid. You're volunteering your time to assist in research that will benefit the lab and also yourself. As you move through the process I just described, collect data yourself. Do this by asking questions that are important to your own goals. A great time to do this is during an interview. After answering their questions, you can ask questions that you have. This will show a level of engagement on your part and possibly distinguish you from other applicants. Some questions I recommend are: what does a typical day in the lab look like for your research assistants? Who will I be working under most directly? What is your or the lab's mentorship style like? What type of schedule and commitment are you looking for? Are there opportunities for research assistants to contribute to the dissemination of the lab's work, for example, by presenting data at a research conference? Ideally, This process, or some version of it, will lead to you obtaining a research position in a lab that aligns with your interests. However, know that this process might take some time. A lot of it depends on whether the lab has an immediate need for research assistance and what kind of assistance they need at that moment in time. It usually takes a few no's before you get a yes. And while a no doesn't feel good in the moment, it's something we all experience. After receiving a no response, I recommend students thank the lab for their time and, if applicable, say that they would appreciate being considered for future opportunities if they arise. I also recommend students take advantage of their college's student advising offices if they're finding it hard to find a position. These offices have extremely knowledgeable, helpful advisors that can help handle potential obstacles, such as a low GPA, a recent switch in major, etc. As with any endeavor, it can take a village. I hope that you make use of your village and that you find a great research position.